Welcome to the Organic Matrix, the life guide in your pocket. Do you ever find yourself struggling to stay focused, tapping into your creativity, or performing at your best? Imagine being able to access a state of mind where everything effortlessly falls into place and you become fully immersed in the task at hand. This state is called the flow state. And in this captivating episode, we explore how to unlock this powerful mental state with renowned flow state coach, Tim Bui. With a deep passion for helping purpose-driven individuals excel, Tim Bui combines evidence-backed methodologies, spiritual teachings, and his practical business experience to guide you on a transformative journey through finding your flow state. Join us as we unravel the secrets to entering the state of heightened focus, creativity, and performance, and discover how it can revolutionize your professional and personal life. Unlock your untapped potential and become the best version of yourself by learning from Tim Bui, an expert in flow state coaching. Get ready to get inspired and be empowered as we dive into the world of flow state. Bookmark this episode and keep listening to uncover the answers to unlocking what your flow state and unleashing your true potential. The journey to reaching your peak awaits. Looking for career advice, personal development tips, or inspiring stories? Our Matrix Mentors has you covered. Can't miss out. Bookmark our podcast and follow us on social media for a life guide in your pocket. Welcome to the Organic Matrix, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you for that fire intro, Samantha. I think that's the best intro I think I've ever received from anyone in the world. So thank you so much for that.
The pleasure is mine. It's an honor to have you in the space. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you found yourself supporting people the way you do today?
Oh yeah, sure. It's an interesting story. We'll start. Okay, I grew up with immigrant parents, and they did their best, but they were working a lot, and also coming from like a war-torn country, but also like Southeast Asia, they weren't like the most emotionally available like parents. I think just culturally, like my parents are super old right now. They're almost like 80. So at that time, they're just like two generations above me. So I just felt like I was alone growing up, and I was like pretty depressed going up through like all the school. And when I was 12, I had my first transcendental experience. It was like out of body experience, and it was, I just basically I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna Google how to meditate, and then I learned, and then I had this experience within like a couple of tries, doing Zazen meditation, and it was crazy. Like I started it, it was day. When I was done, it was night, and like the amount of time that passed in that period was, it felt like 15 minutes, but it was way longer, and it was just a sublime experience that I could not explain with words. But it was extremely traumatizing because I couldn't share that with anybody. I'm like, this happened, but there's no words for it. And then all of life felt so mundane, like going to school, doing a recess, sitting at your chair and paying attention and raising your hand. I was like, oh, what is all this? All this means nothing. And so that made me really look for like a deeper meaning in life. Why am I here? Like, what is like, how does any of this make sense anymore? And so I was deeply traumatized from that point. And then I was just, disconnected from school, disconnected from my parents. So, back in the day, my role model was Tupac. So I just, got my respect on the street. That was love. That was like admiration. That was everything for me. And so that led me down this path of doing things that were not so great, selling drugs, selling guns, like having bunches of houses that just grew drugs in and stuff. And that was my life. And then I was like, I'm gonna go legit. I'm gonna go to college and all this stuff. I got like accepted to UCLA, and then I was like, but it's gonna cost me how much? I was like, no. I'm gonna do that. It's way too much money. So then I was like, I'll just take this 6-figure job. Then I did loans, and then I was like, you know what? I need to like start a business, and I was like, I'm gonna make all money. And then like I was driven to make money, you know, because that's like how we're trained to like think about the world. Like your success is based on how much you make. And I wanted to be successful. And so I created a six-figure business, multiple, businesses. I scaled it, and then I sold them. And then I was like, oh, what am I going to do with my life now? I am successful, but I'm not happy. I'm just kind of the same person as I was before this, except now I just know how to make business and have some money. Um, and then that was a period where I was just like, well, who am I? I spent like all this time chasing after all these things, but I really just want to know like the deeper meaning of life and like how I connect to that. And there was a huge part of me that like growing up, with Tupac as my role model and like looking for respect is like I just believed in this like sense of like, stoicism. Like I gotta be this dude who's like tough and respectable and like feared but admired and like all these weird like things that like don't really make sense to me anymore. And I realized that there's a like I had this dream and I was doing something you may appreciate, some biofeedback breathing or like HRB breathing for self-regulation. And I was going through this 8-week program, which I have a free program version of it online on YouTube. And on the third week, I didn't know this because I didn't read ahead, but like you kind of just do the same thing twice a day. So like I was just like, I'll just read it later or whatever. And you're supposed to have this like emotional release, and I didn't know that. And so, and I don't cry. Like I haven't cried in a long time, and that's not a good thing. It just, just bottled everything down somewhere. And I had this dream where my sister hands me her newborn son, and I don't hold babies as a policy just because I don't know, they're so precious. So then she handed it to me, and I look at him, and then I'm like, as soon as we make eye contact, my heart just like pours open, like everything just gushes out, and I feel like I'm crying, like legitimately crying in this dream, and it's like so intense. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh my, was I crying? No tears. I was like so sad. I was like, no tears. But then I realized like, something about myself because I had a series of dreams after that kind of showed me this pattern where like I'm really sort of I just started to realize like how callous or like how immune I had become to like my own sensitivity, like who I am inside, because I wanted to be like this person, because I want to be tough like this person. I wanted to be like I had like a friend who's like a savant, autistic, or somebody with Asperger's, and so like I was like I want to be like him. Like he's like super smart, super sharp, and like somebody that I respected and admired as well. And then I just realized that like I'm not like those people. I'm my own person, and like I actually have like a deep sense of awareness for like emotion, for like empathy. And I just like blocked it out because I was like I just want to be cool and stuff. So then that's when I realized that like my purpose, although it's many things like to make money and to make an impact, it's actually like to help people. And I think like getting behind that was a really big game changer for me because it was always about like my kingdom, my domain. But it's like, it's not about that really for me, at least. It's really about it's just like, how do I facilitate the change in the world that I already see coming based on my life experiences? And how do I fit into that? And that's really what drives me today. And that's what's created a shift in my life from like, I guess like being in the matrix, somewhat of just like money and respect and status and prestige, all these things that don't really matter at the end of the day because they don't really fulfill you because they just kind of go away, right? Like your status is there until somebody just goes, above that, or like your money is there until it goes back down or, whatever. So, it's just realizing these things is like, I have a heart for this and I want to do this. And I have like the skills, the leadership, the training, the experience, everything at this point. So I'm like, yo, let's just do it. This is the most exciting. This is the most scary. This is the most like audacious thing that I can imagine myself doing. So let me just do it.
OMG, Tim, thank you so much. Your life story just put me on an emotional experience. Like you've seen a lot in the world, and I thank you for turning your skills into a way that you can make this place better. I love that you
Just gonna say thank you. I appreciate that. But I love the space that we have together. So man, this is I don't yeah, this is just incredible. Thank you.
absolutely. And I love that you mentioned like the Matrix because that's the origin of this podcast name. Like we're
Mhm.
organic beings living in the Matrix that we collectively created with
Mhm.
the collective consciousness. So we have to remember that we're organic beings first, and then we're members of the matrix.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't realize that until now, but thank you for sharing that.
Mhm. How do you define? Well, now that we know your origin story, which is like extremely like breathtaking, how do you define a flow state? And what are the key characteristics of being in flow?
So the key characteristics of being in flow is that you don't have a sense of self or time, and so you're just lost in that. And I think that I'm just gonna stick to the question because I'll go crazy. And how do I define that? Was that the first part of the question?
Yeah, how do you define flow state?
Hmm. Yeah, I would just say it's just defined by those key characteristics, really. Just like you don't have a sense of time and or self, and I think the self thing's a really big part because more, not more often than not, it's like all the time, like guaranteed 100% of the time, we are in our own way. We are like, we have like so many resources in our mind, let's say like RAM, right? And it just overloaded by a bunch of stuff that like doesn't matter, like just has nothing to do with the present moment. And like when you're in the present moment, then you have access to even more resources. But even then, there's like lingering things, right? So we can get into that later, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. I I have like a plan for this podcast, but you're calling my spirit to like going off script. 'Cause right before this call, I was meditating, and I'm doing this program called the Master Key System by Charles Epmanau. He's brilliant, and I was meditating and I wrote down notes, and it was literally about that like mental chatter, like why we have to meditate. And it was like, because if we have mental chatter, it's as if when we're trying to be present for someone or something, we're listening to two conversations at once. Our mental chatter,
Yeah.
and we were trying to bring in. I love that you bring that up because it's just kind of an amazing synchronicity that like, and I came to a similar conclusion today.
So exciting, so fire, so on point. Yeah.
What are some key characteristics of being in flow? So how can someone identify if they're actually in a flow state?
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy. We all so like I don't want flow to be like my like the purpose of me developing a training company and everything is because I want it to be ubiquitous and I don't want it to be like this thing where it's experience flow sometimes and you have to be like a master of whatever. It's like when you're a child, you're naturally in flow state. So that from the ages of 0 to 7, your concept of time and self doesn't even exist. So like you're just constantly saturating yourself with information. Obviously, you don't remember a lot from that period, but some things you do remember. And one of the main things that you remember is playing, and playing is flow. So, like when you're really playing, like you're playing like tag with a friend, and like I don't know, you're in elementary school or whatever. You're not thinking about like, like what's my homework, or you're just like, oh, you gonna go, I'm gonna go, and then like that's it. And so that's flow state. Um, and I think we all can like harken back and like just reflect on like times where there's experiences where we've had those types of things, like either with other people or like playing sports or like in a really intense emotional moment. Or even like in productivity, like if you're like studying or doing homework or you're doing work, where you're not thinking about the time anymore. The time is not even an element. It's just like, oh, I'm just so in this. And then by the time I'm done, I'm like, oh, where all the time? That is
I love that. That is a great way of describing it. And it's such a satisfying feeling.
yes.
What are some common challenges that you see people face when trying to access flow state?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is automatic negative thoughts, and I guess that makes sense because it's automatic thought that I just had. But um, when you have an automatic negative thought, it's just related to negative emotion that you have stored inside of your body. That's what I believe. So this is a personal. Um, so some things I'll share are personal beliefs, and some things I'll share are just like just the way things are as I believe. And so this is a personal belief, but I think that like there's parts of us that that are locked away that developed maybe like when we're 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever, and they just got stuck and frozen in time, and they were never reprocessed. So like now I'm like 35, about to be this year, and there are parts of me that are 12 or 7 that are like, "Yeah, some attention. Like there's this time when, you know, I I got ashamed because my dad shaved my head because I like stole money and I had to go to school like that. And man, there all this embarrassment, all these things. And so like there's parts of ourselves, right? And these parts of ourselves, they need attention, they need love, and they need acceptance, and they need acknowledgement. And when they get those things, then actually the wisdom from those parts of ourselves can come out and we can rejoin with that wisdom. And so those automatic negative thoughts most of the time come from those experiences that are reinforced by something that happened at that time. So it could be like you were embarrassed and then like your mom or your dad like told you something negative and that's what cemented that negative emotion in there with that thought. Now you've had that thought like, oh, you're not that good looking or whatever. And like the reason why is because this and you have this experience. So like uh, those things will come up because they're unresolved, and I call those like open loops. And so like you have all these open loops that are going on, taking up your RAM, your processing power, your, like mental chatter, and they're not actually helping you. They're not actually empowering you. They're taking away your power because like, well, you're not that good. Like, how are you really gonna do this or whatever? And it's like, well, I'm gonna do it. So let me just do it. But then you have to have that conversation. It's like even just having that conversation wastes that microsecond, wastes those resources. So that is the number one blocker is automatic negative thoughts.
Thank you so much. And I can relate to that so much. Automatic negative thoughts is something that bombards me personally. And I'm sure our Matrix members could relate to these automatic thoughts. And I think we get so much power when we bring attention to the fact that we don't have to validate those thoughts anymore.
Mm, yeah.
How is your approach to overcoming automatic negative thoughts?
You have a process. Basically, it's an evidence based process. But what we do is a timeline empowerment. So it's just um, we use your conscious mind to tap into your unconscious mind. Okay, let me go. The non technical definition is we basically allow you to go back to the root source of wherever that thought comes from, and we remove the negative emotion around it so that the wisdom can come out. Because the blocker and what creates the limiting belief or the negative emotion is what's keeping it from what's creating that open loop. And so once you close that loop, it doesn't have that need to come out anymore. So that's really just it's a really simple process.
Thank you so much. That sounds like it could be intense for some people.
Yeah, sometimes you can go into like some trauma or like some other things. So it could definitely be intense.
Do you use psychedelics with your clients when you do timeline therapy?
No, I have tried, but I lose. I don't know. I lose sort of my focus when I've done like retreats, like breathwork retreats, meditation retreats. Sometimes we'll do psychedelics and things like that. I think that's useful in those types of like containers for those things. But I think for specifically timeline empowerment, I think it it can make it hard for the conscious mind to focus and tap into the subconscious mind. So that's where yeah, it gets a little tricky.
I love that you're getting like a similar reward result, like when it comes to what you're accomplishing with the timeline therapy without the psychedelics, because it gives people a lot of options. I'm pretty sure if someone retired and they feel themselves still possessed by automatic thinking that they're not going to want to try some mushrooms.
Yeah, and then like also like some people don't respond well. Like yeah, you can have nausea. That's just like an easy thing, but a really hard thing is like if you have dopamine issues, you could have like schizophrenia. Like there's all kinds of other things that can come. It's a wild beast. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for shedding light on that because it's becoming a common topic in our pop culture. But I do like when we can reiterate safety awareness around the topic of psychedelics.
Yeah.
Can you share some? Can you share some practical techniques or exercises our Matrix members can take home with them and try?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is being able to capture your negative thoughts, or sorry, your limiting beliefs and your negative emotions. And so I think whenever we are stretched outside of our comfort zone, whether that's like we get a trigger or we get an impulse and something happens to where it's just as simple as somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're like, this mother, and then you go off and then it's like, okay, So like maybe not in that moment, but maybe like 10 seconds later or a minute later, you just kind of write down what happened and what kind of limiting beliefs may be associated with that and where and what that negative emotion is. And start just capturing that for like a week. And then start looking at like this list now, this laundry list of basically unprocessed stuff, baggage. And so once you do that, then you can get all this stuff is meant to tell you something. Like this is the universe's way of telling you once you get this lesson, you don't have to keep learning it. And like you're the one who's hurting yourself by getting mad or, acting or showing up angry or like less than your fullest, highest self. You're the one who's getting hurt by that. So once you learn these lessons, then you're good. So that's one way of doing that. And, an exercise you could do is you can write out the way that you believe in yourself, but then just like that limiting belief, whatever, but now you can reframe it in a different way, in a positive way. That's like cognitive behavioral therapy. That's like one approach you can use.
I love it. I love it. That is the best advice. Thank you so much for bringing this practice to this space because this is something that we can all take home and start taking personal accountability for.
Yeah. Yo, that's the word.
I love it. How does the mindset play a role in achieving and sustaining flow state? And are there any mindset shifts or beliefs that can support this process?
Yeah, I think, you have to believe it's flow state is possible for you. You have to believe that flow is possible. So I think there are some, there are some like just basic foundational things, right? Just like that, where you need to know that it's possible and you need to know that you've done it and you need to know that you were a pro at it at some time. So it's really just getting back into that. So it's nothing new. It's nothing that you haven't done. It's nothing that's not innate within us to do. It's part of our DNA. It's part of our like consciousness construct. So it's really just, well, when I'm feeling flow, like if that's a 10, when am I feeling a 10? Is it like when I'm playing the piano? Is it when I'm with friends? Okay, let's make a list of those things and figure out how we can start recreating those things and getting a little bit data. Like, what does it feel like in your body? Like, where does it feel like that in your body? Like, like, does it feel like it's wavy? Does it feel, and start capturing those things. Then you can have like an internal sense of interoception. And that's one of the trainings that's in that YouTube video that I mentioned, where like you just learn how to like tap into that state of your body and all those properties. And then you can bring that back out. So that's pretty much essentially how you could do it.
That's phenomenal. And while you're describing that, it made me think about your earlier experience with Zazen. It sounds like that fits into this topic. Can you explain to the audience what Zazen is?
Yeah, so that's just Zen style meditation. So they have two kinds, like one with open eye and one with closed eye. This one is the closed eyes type, and you're just basically counting breaths. And it's supposed to help you develop mindfulness. And so just, an inhale is 1, exhale is 2. And then once you get like your brain on that track, then now like inhale, exhale is 1. And so once you get to that level, then basically your mind starts clearing out. Like the more you focus on the 1 and the 2 and then the 1 and 2, and then you reset at 10 every time you get to 10. And if you didn't reset at 10, then there's a sign that like, oh, you're getting off track or whatever, but it's all self-corrective. So that's the amazing thing about it. It's super simple technology. It's self-corrective, and you will develop the focus that's required to stay in flow longer. Basically, just like focus is just, it's like the gasoline for every like mental activity or that you could have. So definitely, like the more focus you have, the more focus you develop. Like, it's just like a rubber band. So like the stronger you can concentrate.
You're definitely a metaphysical physician. I love that. I love this.
Thank
He's
you.
like you sound like doctor level. Like these are like real. This is really good tips. Like so good. I had to like write it down.
Thank you. I'm glad it's useful for you.
Thank you. And I know that our Matrix members, I challenge you, write down these tips, try it at home, and tag us on social media. Tell us what you find when you discover your flow state.
Oh yeah, that'd be so fun.
How can individuals leverage their strengths and passions to enhance their experience of flow?
That's actually a really good question. Yeah, you have to really like when I say like when do you feel a 10, it's most likely the things that you're most passionate about. And so leverage is really the right word. Because leverage is what makes something easy to do, right? And so if you can tap into basically, like, this goes into the conversation of purpose, and I think purpose and flow are pretty closely related too, because your central nervous system is tuned for your success. Basically, when you're hungry, it tells you like you need to eat. When you need water, it tells you you need to drink. When you feel unsafe, there's a reason why. And when you feel excited, there's a reason why. And like, the more you know yourself, the better you get at determining what that why is. And when it comes to flow, like, the more that you're doing things that make you that 10, that make you basically energized, you're going to have all the fuel that you need to do it. And that's actually probably what you're meant to do at that moment. And I don't believe, that there's a right or wrong. Like, I think that we all have to determine that for ourselves. And so whatever it is that you need to do, don't judge yourself. Just do it and see what happens. Because like, everything, like the most fundamental question, like, I don't care what the philosophy is, it's just like, what do you want? That's the most fundamental question. And it always goes back down to that. And so when it comes to like your passions, that's a really big indicator of like what you want and what you want to create. And we're all artists of life. Like, if we're not like in touch with our passion, then we're not creating. And kind of I don't know. That's my personal belief, is what we're here to do.
I agree with you, and it's beautiful. I love the way you expressed it, and it made me like get another hit back from that Master Key System book from Charles F. Hannell, like, where he talks about we are the temple of the living God, and you reminded me of that because we have to get to know our vessel. So like, we're conscious, and this consciousness allows us to peer through the nervous system and our 6 hour faculties of this body. And yes, and to say like, to know what gets you excited, know your passions, know your desires, reinforces of get to know your vessel, get to know what your gears are. Like, if when people get a car, like a lot of my friends are car fanatics, they read an manual, like, they know everything about that car. And you get more so. And also teach the youth of the future that's the main priority. What kind of world will we live in?
That's it. That's the magic. I am 100% with you on this. And whoever wrote that book, it sounds super legit. So, I congratulate you for finding a true, sounds like a clean signal in all the noise of all the data, of all the gurus, of all the books that are being written. So I'll definitely follow up with you on that book.
Yes, thank you. And I would love to share it. And if you get reading it, we can definitely talk about certain principles, because I've been trying to find a thought buddy for it.
Okay. I'll be happy to.
Can you share any success stories of individuals who've experienced significant growth and professional life by harnessing their flow state?
Yes, for sure. So one of the people that comes to mind is I love all of my clients, but so I'm not even gonna try to qualify that with anything, but he was really successful in real estate in the past, commercial real estate. A couple of years ago, he had a partner who like basically did some shady things, and he basically was left with like all the expenses for the salary of like the whole team, and the guy just took off with all the money and everything. So like, he had to pay out of his pocket like to correct this, and it just totally broke him. Like, it broke his trust in the world. It broke like everything. And he has a family. He has he had a daughter on the way and all this. And so like, he was going through it to say the least. And he was trying to figure out what business he wanted to do. He was trying to make money, and he was struggling to make even 6 figures when before he was making millions. And so he was just like really down on himself. And, just working with him, like, he had the mindset. He already had a really strong mindset. It's just, he lost that faith in himself. And so one of the things that, we did was, we did some shadow work, just like, all your shadows are showing up right now. So this is a great opportunity. This is prime. You're ripe for this. Let's do it. And we just went in there, and we basically just cleared, just all the things that for wisdom, but if not for the negative emotion. And so really allowing him to get out of his own way. And he just called me. I was on a hike. He called me while I was on this hike, and he's like, people ask me all the time, but I didn't know what to tell them. I just woke up one morning and I made $500,000 in sales this month. I was like, he's like, I don't know what you did. I don't know what you unleashed in me, but it's just been, I just teleported. Like, I literally don't know what happened, but now I made $500,000 this month. And he's just so excited. He's like, I'm just calling to share the love. Like, I don't coach him anymore or anything like that. I was just like a one-time thing that were not a one-time, but just like at that time. And so yeah, he was just calling to share the love and like support, and just like he's like, what are you up to? Like, just he's just so excited, but he wanted to share all the love. And I think that's what it's all about for me is, yeah, it's about the results, but it's really about like inspiring people to find like that in themselves to the point where it's so strong that they're now overflowing with that. And then they're going to call people, and they're going to let other people know about like their, success, and like inspire other people. And I think like that's for me what is most rewarding about what I do.
Oh, that's so beautiful and that's so inspiring. I love the
Yeah.
service that you bring. And this is the kind of influence that we need in the world.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any potential pitfalls or misconceptions about flow state that people should be aware of?
Yeah. I think like I've heard some people talk about like, oh, you need like, and I mentioned this earlier, just like you need like maybe 10,000 hours of mastery or this or that. And I think it's true to some degree that you need flow for, like, as a martial artist. I give you an example. Like when I go into like a, sparring session or whatever, if I have to think about every move, every breath, like how far they are, like how hard to hit, all this stuff, like it's not going to happen. So like there has to be some level of technical proficiency before I can use flow in a sparring match, and especially in a tough one, right? And so like maybe in an NBA and like in the finals, right? Like I mean, if you got to the finals, you probably have it already, right? But like the challenge of the task itself, and you need to be able to rise to that occasion. There are some technicalities that go with that, but I think that like outside of like these highly technical things, you can access flow anytime. Like I can just sit here, I can be like, okay, what are my intentions? Like, what am I trying to experience? What am I trying to get done? How long am I going to do this for? What's going to get in my way that I'm not going to do, and what I'm going to be focused on? And I can just sit here for literally, I've sat here for like way longer than it's healthy, and just just flowed. And yeah, it's that easy. So it didn't require 10,000 hours of mastery, other than just like deciding that I was going to do that and having that kind of outline that I just shared with you.
Oh, I love your comparison. And I used to be a collegiate wrestler. And
Oh, me too.
thing, heck yeah. No wonder we got the vibe, because every time I talk to a wrestler, it's like our brains think on a similar wavelength.
Nice, nice.
So in wrestling, you know that there's this flow wrestling is a type of practice where you do like technical chaining. So like,
Mm.
let's say we do a double leg. So and I did freestyle, so I'll do a double leg into a gut wrench, a double leg into a leg lace. So it's like teaching the body how to do behavioral chaining um to reach that flow state, so that you don't have to think you're teaching like your muscle fibers. What?
Yes. Yeah, so that's actually the root of where I got a lot of the context for training in the technicalities of flow state is, well, what I call like I mean, what was taught to me as the elements. So there's like 5 elements: air, water, earth, fire, and spirit. And like basically like with air is like the mental element. So you need to be able to see it. You need to be able to like see it before you can do it. Water is like you need to be able to flow from one move to the next, one thing that you can see to the next thing that you can see. Earth is like to the point where you can do that, where you don't have to think about it. It's ingrained in your physical body. And then fire is when you can do it like with impact, with emotion, like with like channeling that thing. And then, spirit is, it's combining like multiple things. But yeah, so that's basically it. That's flow.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing your analogy, because it's truly beautiful. And when you think of spirit, it's like the part of us that actually silences, well, in my interpretation, like the part of us that silences that mind that's thinking before every move, trying to predict.
Mm, yeah. It's there behind the thoughts.
What advice or guidance do you have for someone who would want to cultivate a greater sense of flow and peak performance?
Mhm. Yeah, I think everything comes down to three things. So it's your vision, your values, and your beliefs. Those are three things that if you tell me what those three things are, I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen in your life. And I'm not psychic. It's because like you can only go as far as you can see, and that goes back to the air element, right? And then like your values, like do your values align with what you're doing? So they don't, you're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to have meaning, and you're not going to be happy. And being unhappy means that you're not going to be successful because you need to be happy to be successful. I don't care what you say. But anyway, so that's a personal belief. So I'll share that. And then, your beliefs. So you need to believe that these things are possible. Like, and you also need to know that like there are certain beliefs that you have that may be disempowering or not serving what you're trying to go or get to. So one of the things you mentioned is like a manual, right? Like a manual for the human body. Well, there's something called human design, right? It's like I don't know if you've heard of it, but it was like manifested. Da, da, da. So yeah, like I got really deep into that and countless other things that are going to take this entire podcast, like 5 series to get over. But so with that, like, it is the quote unquote human manual. The only problem that I had with that after like spending so many years in it is that it creates limiting beliefs as well. So it's like, okay, now that I know like the body, like it's kind of like, well, like when you warm up the car, you should always wait 2 minutes before you drive it. But it's like I just got in like 10 minutes ago. Like I don't need to wait 2 minutes. So when you kind of know better than the rules and you kind of have to earn that, right? Like everything in life, I believe that with the problem that we have in modern society is instant gratification. Like people don't need to earn anything anymore. And so there's no feedback loop in terms of like neurochemicals that actually reward you for the things that you do for your effort. But yeah, so like you do need to earn like knowing yourself before you can be like, start going around the rules or whatever. So yeah, like going back to that, it's just like your beliefs. Like there are some beliefs that are installed into you. Like for me, like one of my human design things is like you are not meant to tell stories or something like that. And because like my gate for my throat or whatever is not connected and blah blah. I can go into that. But so and then so for a while it discouraged me. And then after a while I was like, no, I'm gonna master this. And I did. So I mean I'm not like the best storyteller by nature, but I can tell a good story now. And so that's the point, right? It's like, do you want to tell it? And it goes back to everything goes back to what do you want? So do you want to tell a good story? Okay, just go do it. Just figure out what it is. And so let go of whatever's in the way of that too.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That is, I can relate to so many points on that. And I'm so happy that you brought up human design. I did a past episode on human design before. And I love that you mentioned that these things are not meant to limit us, but it could create limiting beliefs. The way that I interpret like astrology and human design, 'cause I've been in the mix for almost for 11 years now into these modalities, is
Mm,
when I see a block, for example, like I have a block in my throat too. I
mm,
see it. This is the position I was born in, but now
mm.
it's up to me to bring it where I want to be. And
Fire. Yeah.
so a lot of people like Matrix members, if you feel like you don't like astrology or human design because you feel like it's woo woo, like how do they know me so well? Just think of it like this: it's a tool for introspection. It-
Yeah.
You don't have to fit in. It's just gives you a little something to think about.
Yes, 100%. I love that. And I feel the same way about tarot cards too. It's like it doesn't have to be like your fate, but it's like it gives you a place to look at.
Oh, yup. That's usually where I go with it, but today I was like, for some reason, I'm not gonna bring up tarot cards, but I'm really glad that you did. It's
Okay.
it's like what you said earlier, like, if you could tell me these 3 things, I can predict where you're going, and it's not that you're
Yeah.
psychic. The tarot cards are the same way, like, people who think it's, like, psychic read it's not. It's showing you through human archetypes that we all experience where you're at right now and what you need to
Yeah.
work on.
Yeah, yeah, yes. It creates the light for the shadow, and then it gives you that perception, that dimension of analysis that you can take a look at and be like, "Oh, I didn't think of it that way."
Yes, I love this. If somebody is interested can you tell us more about your coaching services, how you and, what would clients expect if they were to work with you?
Yes, it's actually a really fast process, and that's why I told you that, like, I'm not working that person anymore. I don't try to like hold on to people forever. Like, I don't really believe in that model. Like, for me, like, I want to, like, part of my vision is to be able to like go international with this training, and also like easily do 1 million people a year. And there's no way I can do that if I'm trying to like hold everybody's hand, or like I need to hold on to people forever. And so obviously I can't do it myself either. So there's that. It only takes like 6 weeks to basically get cleared for flow. So like just clear out like all the negative beliefs, limited beliefs, negative emotions, all the things that are getting in the way of your purpose, and connecting with that right now. Once you have that, then you can get into flow easily. And then I do have like a secondary level where it's just like, how do you gain more flow in more areas of your life, like relationships, like, leadership at work or with your career, or, various other things. Like, how do you maintain flow like all the time, basically? And so those are just those two things. And yeah, the first thing, it only takes like 6 weeks. It's like 2-3 hour sessions. We just it's just like AI, right? Like the quality of like the way that you set something up and how deep you go really allows the power of the AI to come out. If you're just like, if you just ask the AI like, oh, my breath stinks, what should I do? It's like brush your teeth or something, right? But if you're like if you go for the root cause, like, and these are my symptoms, this is when it stinks the most, and all this stuff, it's like, oh, you have halitosis, it sounds like, but you should see a professional to get diagnosed for that or something, right? So it's like, it can be really powerful, or it could be just some waste of time. And so the same thing happens in these 3-hour sessions. It's like, it really goes down to like who's helping you and like how you connect. And so my thing is like, I really only want to work with people that I really vibe with, because that's how we go deep. Like, if you're kind of like resistant, or like you're guarded, or you're just like too busy for this, and it's like, yeah, it's probably not going to work out. So like, let's just not waste our time. But yeah, it should only take like 2-3 hour sessions. And then like I have like 4 follow-up sessions just to make sure everything is good. But yeah, it's pretty fast.
That's incredible. I love that. It's on that. I I'm just speechless, because to think that like somebody can be stuck their entire life, and then in the span of 6 weeks they can be a new person, released from the chains that hold them down, like that. God bless you for that. Thank you for the work that you do.
Yeah, of course, it's just a gift. So I just want to make sure that I am utilizing and sharing that gift as much as possible.
Uh, if someone is interested in working with you to unlock their flow state and reach their peak, how can they get in touch with you to learn more?
Yeah, so I'm developing a bunch of free stuff that I'll be just kind of putting out through Instagram and my link tree, just because like I want to help people as much as possible. And like, you think there's a lot that you can do on your own, but I think there can be a time when like you may benefit like just from the speed of working with somebody who's like does it all the time, or get that experience. But I am releasing like a bunch of stuff on like values, on vision, on beliefs, and things like that, so that people have access to those things on their own, regardless of how much money you have or whatever. I'm also working on a book to like get more of that info out too. So everything, I'll just keep everything updated on Instagram. Although I'm not like I don't even get notifications on social media or anything. So if I take forever to DM, it's not personal. I just take a while. But yeah, I just use it to communicate like what I'm working on and stuff like that. So
Absolutely. You're a man on a mission.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show, Tim. I'm so excited to replay this episode and start implementing a lot of the things that you taught us today.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really glad that you created this space, like I mentioned earlier, for us to be here and connect, because it's been really invigorating and energizing to connect with you. And you've asked really good questions. And I think there's a lot of value that you've created just by creating the space, or like probably before us, but like with just us, I think you've created a lot of value. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Tim. Do you have any messages for the audience?
Yeah, well, like just go to my Instagram. There's gonna be like, I have a quiz that's set up on my link tree too, that will like really help to break out like the 3 most important things that you can work on to build like confidence. And I think when you have confidence, there's a lot of other things that you can do, and it's just like a 60-second assessment. So that would be probably pretty easy.
Oh my gosh, Matrix members, I hope you take advantage of all these golden nuggets that are soon to come. As we come to the end of this enlightening episode with Tim Bui, the Flow State Coach, we hope you gain valuable insights and tools to harness the power of the flow in your life. Remember, finding your flow is not just about achieving peak performance, it's also about experiencing a deeper sense of fulfillment, purpose, and joy in everything that you do. Tim's expertise and practical approach provides a roadmap for you to start unlocking your true potential and live a life of harmony and success. If you're ready to tap into your flow state and unleash your limitless potential, we encourage you to connect with Tim Bui on Instagram. If you're driving and you can't have access to looking at the show notes right now, Tim's Instagram is at TIMDINHBUI. And I will also provide the link to his link tree if you're intrigued with the lessons he's going to provide. Keep the momentum going by bookmarking this episode and exploring our podcast archives for more insightful conversations and strategies to help you thrive in all areas of your life. We love to hear your thoughts and experience, so don't forget to follow us and tag us in your posts. Together, we'll create a community of flow seekers and empower each other to reach new heights. Thank you for joining us today, and remember your flow state awaits. Keep listening, keep growing, and keep flowing. If you're interested in Matrix members, I think that this episode is completely essential for all humans on Earth, so let's get this viral. Share this episode and send it to your friends and family. Bring it up in conversation, tag us on social media. We want to be there with you learning. I love you guys, and I'll be seeing you on the next download.